Okay, welcome to another episode of Panakal, podcast for geeks, the show about good friends hanging out, talking about things we all love. My guest today, my co-host is Andrew Sides, as you guys all know, and my guest today is Brian Colin, who works with David Rocca over at Infinite Black, and today we're going to talk about the One-Up Dice retro video game themed dice Kickstarter that you guys are running. For starters, that's what we're going to talk about, and at some point, we're probably going to talk about some 80s nostalgia because this project heavily leans into 80s nostalgia.
That sure does. Late 80s, cool. Early 90s.
I'll tell you, man. Everyone I've shown this project to so far has they got nothing but great things to say about it. It's a cool idea.
That's good to hear.
You know, it's very unique to you guys, not just you guys, but unique in its own way. I was talking about this last week, where it's like, you know, you got these. If you guys haven't checked it out, it's on Kickstarter. Type in One-Up Dice and it'll come up. But you know, you got this cool idea of making the dice, but then on top of that, you've got I love the idea of the old school cartridges. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say Nintendo cartridges.
Well, they are definitely inspired and influenced by video game cartridges. And like one of the coolest things about these for the cartridges is that in all the previous like Elder Dice packaging, even though it's like really nice Grimoire boxes that open up and they have magnets, these are actually going to be like made out of plastic, like plastic that miniatures are made out of. They're going to have magnets, and so you pop it open, and they're going to work as like little rolling trays as well, which is super rad.
So does it just split open?
No, like you'd like pop it open or like lift it open so you don't spill your dice everywhere.
Nice.
But yeah, and so it's gonna have that really awesome feel because the company, the manufacturer that's gonna put them together actually makes a crazy amount of miniatures for really high end board games. So they're gonna turn out fantastic.
Nice. So they kind of like know what they're doing.
Oh yeah, they completely know what they're doing.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, you know, I saw, you know, when you first were telling me about this, I was looking at your goal and I was like, that is an audacious goal to try to hit. But
it's a huge goal.
No, you guys are on track, though.
Pop it open. Yeah, absolutely.
Easily.
Yeah,
you're gonna fund. There's no question about it.
Yeah, one of the big differences with this campaign versus like other Elder Dice campaign, since this is One-Up, is that usually we'd have like a few sets that are available right at the beginning, and then unlock sets as we go. So you could have a much smaller goal at the beginning, but you know, if we're going to offer 9 sets right out the door, that's a lot of money in molds, and you have minimum quantities that you got to order. So we had to set that goal high in order to actually be able to manufacture them. So
I mean, totally understand, because you usually, like you said, you usually do like, here's a couple dice sets we're working on, here's another couple set of dice sets we're working on, and then but in this case, you're like, here's all 9. You can get all 9 in the first go, and which I think is actually a better way to do it, because like I you know, if you read some of the chats or the comments and the older Kickstarters that Infinite Black has done, there's people in there who are like, oh, I wish I had known this was coming out, you know?
Right. And if somebody only gets to it once, like if they see it one day and they only see 4 sets or 3 sets or 5 sets, and they miss out on the sets that you were going to unlock later, and those are the ones that resonated with them,
right?
You know, you want to try and get people, because there's 3 distinct series with sub-series within One-Up: the Retro Rampage, the Monsters of Madness, and the Legendary Hero, and each leans heavily on those specific games of yesteryear. And if some people are into the more plumber-esque games versus, you know, going into castles and fighting off the evil darkness, you know,
are you like not allowed to like? I understand like the
probably not
need to compare, but you probably don't want to do it on your actual Kickstarter, obviously, because that might get you in trouble. But like,
I mean,
there's done a couple interviews so far. You can't like talk about like what games they would lean into, because I think that would. You don't want to get in trouble for it.
Why even tempt the fates, right?
Why tempt the fates? I think it's cool. You know, I already know which one I'm getting. So
yeah, I was gonna say anyone can easily look at these and figure out what they're supposed to be inspired by.
Oh yeah,
yes.
I mean, it took me a minute on 1 or 2 of them, because I was just like, I actually, I'm looking at your website. I'm sorry, your Kickstarter right here. I actually really like this Master Edition that you guys just announced.
Oh yeah, that was just announced, and that was one of the ones we were waiting on those actual samples to come in, because they're different. Like, unlike the other dice, they're an acrylic base, but it uses an electro what was the exact term? I had that written down somewhere.
Electroplating?
Yeah, it's electroplated coating. So it gives it that golden look to it.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a thick shell. So, like, David got some samples in and he ran them through a tumbler, like a jewelry tumbler.
Yeah.
He ran them, and they still look fantastic. So it's not like it's paint coating where you roll your dice a few times and it comes off, but it's still light, like acrylic dice.
This is the Master Edition, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they look like little gold pieces, which is kind of neat, and it's got like,
and it fits in with the theme, and it's kind of like those cartridges of that time period where they were the gold cartridges.
That's
so it definitely has that feel.
All of us own a couple of those gold ones, and they're rares, like.
Yep.
But yeah. Dude, I didn't even put that together in my head. I just thought it's kind of like a treasure, like all these games involve some kind of treasure you can collect, right?
Yeah.
So it's basically like the polyhedral dice with plating on top of it. I'm sorry, Andrew, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, sorry, I'm just admiring all of them because I'm looking through. I'm like, yeah, I like this one. Oh, I like this one.
I mean, I already know which one I want to get.
I like this one.
And I was talking I was messaging David and Brian last week. I was like, I was probably gonna end up with all of these because also it's got this cool. I just keep leaning on the fact it's got this nostalgia factor. Like when I was a kid, I had these type of the games, and I had the you guys did that extra thing I was hoping you would do, which is you made the little sleeve holders that we all had. I was like, there we go.
Yeah, making the slipcase so it looks like the sleeves was a big, or at least in that shape was an important part of it to make it kind of everything has to hit home and give it that feel of growing up then.
I mean, this is fantastic work, man. I'm not going to name my other guest. I was going to have another guest on here, but they very much said they don't want to talk about the 80s because they hate the 80s. And I was like shocked. I was like, who hates the 80s? But, maybe something happened to them, like the car blew up or, they went back in time and they know what's going to happen now. So
I was stuck in my basement in the 80s playing D&D and video games. I mean, so like I didn't really see the 80s. I saw my basement and my friends and cartoons, and that was about it.
I mean, the 80s for me was like, I think I was talking about this in the Rusty group a couple days back, but the 80s for me was a lot of like No Fear, skateboarding, a lot of video games, a lot of comic books, like pretty much everything I love doing now, but have a harder time doing because I'm an adult and I have to do adult things, also like all the cool nostalgia that we love. Like anyone who knows my series knows I lean heavy into like nostalgic feelings with like the Outrun style and all that. But it's like really part of it is fun. A large majority of it is fun, but also there's the business aspect that we all have to lean into, right? Like this is a fun project for you guys, but people don't get to see if you want to talk about a little bit, I want to talk about like people don't get to see behind the scenes. Because I know you guys were like all the way up until the day before launch, you guys were working your asses off on this.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. We're coming up on the holidays, and there's a certain point where you shouldn't launch a kick. At least we don't think you should launch a Kickstarter, and because people are so busy. And this one
you were edging on it, yeah,
right. And it's still edging on it because next week a lot of people are off in the States are off work for a good chunk of the week. People are traveling, so. Whether or not people will be on their computers and backing Kickstarters, it's a huge gamble. But if we didn't do it then we were going to have to wait until, like the end of January or maybe even early February. And
because you got Black Friday and then you got Christmas.
Yeah. And as a small business, you have to try and balance the manufacturing, the revenue coming in, and all the other projects that you have in the pipeline and try and figure out how to make everything work is, there's a lot of juggling. And sometimes you're waiting, especially with manufacturers, and you're waiting on samples that you want to, the sample has to be right to put it in the photography and not just making renderings because we didn't want to do that.
Because
that's what the biggest
issues, right? When you do your own renderings versus.
Right.
Did you guys do your own photography this time? Because I know David's got a knack for that.
Yeah, David did all the photography.
Oh, yeah.
So,
okay, cool.
Yeah, so I mean, getting all the that's part of what was like cutting down to the wire was samples came in much later than we thought they were going to come in, and so it's like trying to hustle to get everything done. That's just part of it, and that's doing the entrepreneurial thing. Sometimes you just have to hustle extra hard.
Yeah, I mean, you guys hustle hard, man. I mean, I didn't even know about this project until I want to say. Couple one or about 2 weeks before it was about to go, or maybe 3 weeks
Well,
before.
David keeps everything very, very, very close-lipped and close to the chest until it's ready to actually go live. So
yeah, I got that because I was just like, when you guys were talking about it, I was like, I was at Gen Con with these assholes, like and they didn't once mention this project to me. I would have been excited to hear about this while I was boozing it up with you guys. I had Andrew. Do you have any questions? I had another.
I'm like just gawking at all these different dice colors. Like they're really gorgeous. I'm kind of like just salivating over these right now, trying to figure out which one I would like to get.
I'm gonna get the squid one. I think the ghost ones. Was it squids or ghosts? I forget.
The Ghost Squid Squad.
I like the Ghost Squid Squad. I mean, I like them all, but I really, really like the Ghost Squid Squad, and I like the sword one. I believe I can't remember what it's called.
The mythical sword.
Mythical sword, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
mythical sword because it really leans on the some of my favorite games. And the Ghost Squid Squad because they just look cool, man. I love the colors on it. I actually really like the there's one that you had that was like purples, the zombie chopper, I believe. Yeah.
Yep. Zombie chopper +5.
I mean, they all look good.
Yeah.
I mean, if they all, here's the thing, like, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but like, I know with some of the Elder Dice, I saw some people complaining that the colors didn't turn out the same as
sure,
and they weren't that much off, right? Like, people are finicky. I get it.
Well, and also like product photography, especially like in any sort of marketing or advertising, anything that a business is putting out, you're going to do product photography with lots of lights, and you're setting a scene.
Yeah.
And that's just that's the reality of any sort of business, whether you're a fast food business selling your burgers, or
fast food is a good
right.
I mean, fast food is a great example of the product photography, right? Like it never looks. And the thing is, it's like people have accepted the fact that stuff's never going to look the way it's meant to look, and they just lean on it, right? But then when it comes to like a Kickstarter, and I'm not talking just about the dice, I'm talking about Kickstarters, period. Because I had people message me about the book too, right? And they were like, "Oh, these colors look so vibrant on the Kickstarter, but they don't look as vibrant in the book." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, one is like a digital image that you're looking at, and the other one is paper."
Yeah.
Well, and most people aren't going to understand the difference between RGB and CMYK for stuff,
Yeah, I didn't lean into that. I didn't lean into that. I could have, but I'm just like, I didn't want to be like all nerdy and technical, right? I wanted to be like, hey man, I'm not intentionally trying to upset you. This is the way I got pretty close. You guys both own the book. You could, right? Andrew, you have the book, right? Okay.
Yeah, I own the book too.
I went back and forth with my printer on that book, and Brian knows, at least 3 times to make sure the quality got as close to the digital work as I could, but there's a line, right? Like there's a hard, unless I gave away iPads with images on them.
I was going to say there's certain colors that you're never going to get.
You just can't.
Yep. And not unless you're doing spot color on top of it with a certain Pantone, and I mean,
it just won't work.
You got to make more money than that on a Kickstarter,
right?
So
go ahead.
Well, so one question I had about like the behind the scenes stuff. So these are being produced. Are these being produced overseas?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How are you guys dealing with have you had to deal with like shipping costs and all that kind of deal? Because I know that's hit a lot of companies.
I mean, I think it's just recently dropped down, not back down to where it was like a year ago, but some of the shipping costs were like 4 times as much as it was a year prior to that. I mean, because like the last Kickstarter that we just had shipped, we're still fulfilling that right now. Most of the first wave of the U.S. orders are out the door now. There's still a chunk of them left. The one going to Canada, it's just waiting. They can't get it unloaded into Canada yet to be able to then go to fulfillment. The one in the EU is just on its way to the Ireland distribution center now, and everything's slower and everything's way more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And we were really lucky with the ones that came into California, because there were when our boat came in, there were 40 to 44 boats sitting outside the Long Beach hub, and somehow our boat got in, because we had 1.5 shipping containers worth of stuff coming in, and that's a lot.
That's a lot
to move and to get in and not get held up for a month or two in customs. We've also last Elder Dice Kickstarter, Elder Dice 3, Customs held it, and they just sat on the container for like a month, just because they like some paperwork wasn't right, or somebody
Something
just
about it.
was irritated. Something just wasn't quite right, and it just sat there. And sometimes you just, sometimes it's the luck of things. Sometimes it's the more you do it, this has to be this way. You have the right partners in place to make everything move a little smoother. So
yeah.
I mean, I've heard stories about. I heard some stories about how they hold some of those containers and then they charge you X times 3 to get your container.
Well, yeah, I mean, and if Customs wants to do a detailed X-ray scan, you have to pay for that. Like, so that's on top of your additional one. Like, outside of Infinite Black, I've had to do that for some of my own products, where I then had to pay like $2,000 more.
What do you mean by detailed X-ray scan versus opening it up and just looking what's inside?
Like, they take the container, and I think they actually put the container into some place where they actually like do some gigantic X-ray thing on it. Mine was like kids' toys. It was plush stuff, so they went like the extra step, and so I just had to pay a lot more money and ended up getting my stuff. It just
looked like you had a bunch of animals in boxes in your container, basically.
I guess it's like when you're just waiting and it's just out of your hands.
Right.
It can delay everything else that you have in your pipeline.
I've not heard of a single Kickstarter that's come out since the start of 2020 that hasn't been delayed in one way, shape, or form. Even mine was delayed by like 3 months, right?
Elder Dice 4, that's still like a good chunk of it's fulfilled, but we're still fulfilling. That was scheduled to fulfill November of this year. So we're like pretty on it for considering all the logistical stuff that's going on in the world.
Yeah. I mean, that's you like you said a minute ago, like it also comes down to who you know over there, right? So if you got the right connections and
right.
I feel like Infinite Black's been at it for long enough where they've laid down those foundations.
Yep.
I don't know where my notes are, man, but I was also.
I have another question. This is because so my experience with like dice is it's like the handheld kind of stuff. For these, like, do they already have like basically blanks of the dice, and then the tooling cost is just to put your own custom font and whatever else on it, or how do they handle that?
Brand new mold. What's that?
Oh,
your logo. New mold, like you said.
Yeah, so some
new mold entirely. Okay.
Yeah, so some companies will have it where it's got just like the D20, where the D20 is off, and you pay for that part where you get your symbol or whatever on there. Some will have it where they have the high number on all of them, and then for all of our molds, we pay for molds and get our own unique mold for all of it. And part of that is trying to figure out how all of that's going to work with the type of dice that we like, the sets that we want to make. Like the sets in 1-Up Dice are 11 dice sets. They've got 2D20s, they've got 3D6s. So it's definitely going to be different than almost every other manufacturer out there that's putting out dice sets, just because of the types of dice that are in there and the quantity. So, and especially using unique font for all the sides. Like I basically I put together all the dice templates in Illustrator and made sure that it basically has a flattened out die for each of the dice, like the D20 and the D12, and it's just like blown out. And so I'd go through and make sure the number is in the right spot at the right angle and the logo and all that stuff. So when you send it to the manufacturer, they then do 3D renderings of how it should look, approve that, and then they make the actual molds from there.
Gotcha. Okay.
How long does they obviously make you a mold, and then they make you the rendering to look at, and then you're using a company overseas, so like you have to wait for samples to come in, right, before you can even.
Yep.
So all the photos that we're looking at are the samples, basically. There was 2 questions there.
Yeah, Andrew, what'd you say?
I was gonna piggybacking off of what Alan was asking. Is it physical samples, or do they just send you photo samples?
Oh no, they send physical. They send photos first. You be like just to make sure that there isn't anything way off base.
Right.
And then they send physical samples. And that's all part of the initial process. So like, we're gonna need these many samples of this, and this. So those are all physical samples that David got, and we got way more samples than that because we tried a bunch of different color combinations, and these are the ones that
you liked.
These are the ones that we wanted to go with.
Does he run all the dice through the tumbler just to see how well they hold up? I said, does he take all the dice? Just
those electroplated. But that's part of what the process of manufacturing and why things take so long, because you get something and the colors aren't right, you have to have them remake it. Right. And then all this the past few months in China, there have been large power outages where the government has regulated the amount of energy being used in certain cities. And so certain factories that would normally run 2 shifts or 3 shifts would be only allowed to run so many shifts a day or so many shifts a week and certain days a week. So there were rolling blackouts, government-sanctioned blackouts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. That would really help
everything
business.
Off on top of everything else.
I mean, the people that I've been talking, that you connected me with for Dice, which is a different company from the one you're using right now, but they also made the pins that I have at the shows, and they had that happen, I think it was a little bit before showtime. And because I remember she messaged me and she was like, hey man, I need you to get this order in now because I can get it to you before the first show, which is Dragon Con. And then it was like, if I didn't get it in by like Tuesday or something, I was royally fucked for like a week because she was like, they shut us down. We have no power. No power means we can't do anything. And then, and then, they have other clients. Obviously I'm not their main client. So I was like, that's interesting. It reminded me a little bit of like where my family's from in India, where they do power cuts. But they do those daily.
Yeah. And I don't know why, like I haven't looked into why they do those or what the reasoning or
sometimes some of those areas have is it hydrogen power? I know hydropower, like water. And if there's no rain in the area, they don't have enough water. And then where my family's from, a lot of it's the hydrogen power, I believe. And then if it doesn't rain, they do a 1-hour power cut every day.
Gotcha. Oh, okay.
But they do this random stuff.
Conserve energy.
Yeah, to conserve energy. But sometimes they do it at like 6 at night one week, and the next week they do it at 7 at night, and then the week after they do it at 8, and then back to 6. I'm like, dude, just pick 1 hour in the day. Like, I'm fine with you doing it at 6 because it's still bright outside, but when you do it at 7, it's pitch black, and all the creepy crawlies come out.
But you have things like that, and then you also have I know one day we were talking with our logistics partner, and one person got sick at I think it might have been the Shenzhen port, where all a lot of the containers come and go, and one person came down with COVID, so they shut the whole place down for 2 days, and so and when 2 days are off, that it's a domino effect, and so many things cascade out of control.
Yeah,
I mean, it's massive when that any product, right? When that happens, it throws off your business. I feel like a lot of the customers that they'd be customers. No, I mean they'd be fans. I like to use the word fans instead. Yeah. But that we have in our industry right now, I'd say a large percentage of them understand what we're all dealing with
because they're seeing it from everybody. It's not
they're seeing it all over, all across the board. But then there's the occasional. I had a guy place an order a week ago, and 6 hours later he messaged me. I printed his label because I was packaging up the order right away. And then he was like, I saw you print the label, but it's not in the mail yet. And I'm just like, it's only been about 6 hours, man. I'm going I still have to get to the post office. Well,
that's I wouldn't say that's not because of our industry. I think that's Amazon's influence, impact.
Amazon's impact on the next day. In our industry, what I've been having is people have been placing orders. I sold out a lot of stuff at Origins, and I gave a lot of stuff to the distributor I have now. So which is my fault. I should have kept some for myself. I really didn't think I'd make online orders before the holidays. And then I got a few that came in, and I had to message some customers last week to be like, hey, I thanks for buying all this metal. They bought a bunch of metal pieces, which is great. But I was like, I don't have any. I have to reorder some. And my vendor is really good, but they were like, we need 2 to 3 weeks right now because we're backed up because of the holidays.
Right, they're busy and everything.
They're also, a lot of the big name artists you see at the shows use the same vendor that I use too. So we're all one tight family here. But like I said, the people I message say, oh, no worries, as long as I have by Christmas. And I'm like, that's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm going to do my best to get it there. But once it's out the door, it's not on me anymore. It's on USPS has been slowing down things too, right? So it's once it's out the door, it's like a cluster, a cluster effect, right? It just goes a domino effect. Why did I say cluster? Domino effect. It just goes down the board. I also want to point out real quick, I'm still looking at this Kickstarter, and I didn't realize.
Oh yeah, keep looking at it. Get all the sparklies.
I mean, you got coins. I see you're making some coins here. which is
Yes.
kind of
Oh,
cool.
you know what? I didn't even see those.
Keep scrolling past those dice, man. They got playmats, which is standard, which you have to have if you're selling dice. You'd be dumb not to. You've got coins, which is cool because there's all these cool things that you collect in those old games that sing to my heartstrings. And then you got these pins, which I was like, I didn't realize you guys had pins. There's that ghost squid. I want that ghost squid.
Oh.
And then
See, you know what? I didn't notice that they were coins at first.
Yeah, so there's coins, there's pins, there's patches. I like the fact that you put the patches on a leather jean jacket, which I was like, that's cool. I have a jean jacket that has no patches on them.
Yep.
Clean.
The real patches look so good too.
Yeah.
So like normal patches, you have embroidered stitches, right? These they have circles. It's like they do. I can't remember.
Oh, like little 8-bit cubes. Almost?
Yeah. So each square is a little like circular stitching. So it looks 8-bit.
Oh wow.
They are. Yeah, you can kind of see that.
Yeah, they're but in person they look so fresh.
Yeah,
they're so good.
Man, I have a jean jacket. I've never put patches on it because it's a jacket I wear to fancy events. like
you're wearing a jean jacket to fancy events.
Oh, I show up to if they say dress business casual, I'll show up in this Levi's jacket. I look good in it too, and I'll show up in that. But if I show up with a bunch of patches on it, it's a whole different story. Yeah, so there might be a moment there where my wife's going to be like, "You can't wear that."
You just need to get an alternate jacket.
Yeah, I get it, man. I just you got to spend the money. And the one thing I don't do is I don't wear a Canadian tuxedo, so nobody worry about that. And there's the slip cases. That's when you wear a jean jacket and jeans.
And jeans.
Same color.
Oh, gotcha. Yep.
But if you're gonna wear a jean jacket and let's say it's jean colored, here's a side step for you guys. You gotta wear like black jeans or like red jeans or gray jeans. You can't have a jean jacket on and then a pair of blue jeans, because then you're gonna look like an idiot. Or
you gotta lean into it and just wear a jean shirt with your jean jacket and your jeans.
Yep, and a jean backpack.
You gotta have the backpack, and then you just show up with a cowboy hat on, and you're good to go. Nobody will question that. They'll be like, "That man must be a cowboy." Here's the slip cases, and what's this?
I love the slip cases. I think that is
I think the slip
awesome
cases
design.
are brilliant. I mean, it's the same. I love the fact that you guys you did this same thing with the Elder Dice too, where you created a holder, essentially like a bookcase holder. So people aren't just scattering their shit around, right? It's like, where did all my dice go? It's in one spot, which is a great way to do it. You got stickers, which is brilliant. You got shirts. Get the fuck out of here, man. You got shirts too?
Yep. We got the Meshroom, we got the Bastard, and we've got a Monsters of Madness Curse of the Cackling Skull.
I see that.
Cackling Skull's Curse.
You got so you can get all 3 sets. What is this? It says 3x11 piece 1-up dice sets.
That's if you wanted to get three dice sets. It's basically an easy way to
them options. Got it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh man, 11 piece.
So part of that was the stretch goal, like those Master Edition dice.
Mm-hmm.
At certain levels, you get things for free. So anybody that backs it for at least a dice set, once we hit the stretch goal, the first stretch goal at 205, everybody's going to get a D20. That's one of the Master Edition.
That's awesome.
At different pledge levels, as it goes up, you can get the whole set for free. So, and I believe it's the 6.
I'm either the stretch goals. I'm going. They're not on.
Yeah.
Here. Are they on
so
here?
when you either get the mini boss pledge, which is 149, or the 6 1-up dice sets, which is 150, you get the free Master Edition on top of that. So you'd get that extra set of dice just for pledging.
The gold. You're talking about the gold one?
Yep.
So are the stretch goals on here? Am I just not seeing it?
It should be on here. Oh, there's if you scroll down, there's right underneath. There's like the grid chart that kind of shows what's in each pledge, and then it's got an illustration of an elven warrior.
No, where am I? Oh yeah, okay, I see it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's with the playmats and the coins and all that.
Mm-hmm, yeah, I see it.
Yeah,
you'll activate them as you hit them. Okay. That's cool, man. I mean, if you get to 205, I feel like you guys are gonna hit that. You're gonna go past. You're gonna go way past that because you got what do you got here? You got 18 days to go. You're at 187 right now.
It'll easily hit the 205, I think.
It'll easily get 205.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to my gold dice set. I'm gonna have to
Excellent.
see. I'll have to go dig out my kid's rock tumbler and be like, Violet, I'm gonna need this for a second.
Yeah, I gotta put this to the test.
I tell you something. I'm kidding. I don't own a rock tumbler. I don't think I even had one of those as a kid. Video game system was a Commodore 64.
Sure. Yeah.
So
I had a
way
big
back.
20.
And it was a hand-me-down. Like a lot of my stuff, I grew up with a lot of hand-me-downs from my cousins because my parents were just gonna blow money on things like that because they worked 2 jobs each, and they're like, we're just focusing on educating your kids. So like getting something like a comic book or a video game was like, I mean, I still remember the first time I went to the video store with my dad, and I rented a video game, like unheard of, right? Like I was just like, he puts me in front of this wall of Nintendo games, like so. At this, so basically, I went Commodore 64, Atari, I forget, it was an old one. It was a top loading, and then it had a keyboard.
Was it the wood paneling one?
Yeah, the wood paneling one.
2600.
No, the 2600 came after this.
Okay.
I want to say it was a 1700. It had top loading. I had the controllers with the vertical joystick.
Right.
Yep.
It had a keyboard in case you wanted to type a report on it, and a dot matrix printer. And I had Defender, which was the only game I had on there. Yeah, I think it was Defender. And I got really good at Defender really fast.
Well, when it's the only game you have.
Yeah,
of course.
And then my dad got me Atari 2600, Atari 7800, which are all like, as my cousins got bored of these systems, they would just show up to me. Like, Alan will take whatever garbage we give him. Yes, I will. And then one day I got a Nintendo, which I believe at the time when Nintendo first came out was $100, which is super fucking expensive back then.
Yep.
But my dad takes me to the video store because he's like, we're not going to buy you a bunch of games because they're expensive. They were like, you could rent a game for like $2 for a night and bring it back the next day. And the video store was right up the street. But
here's a question: did your grocery store have, for some reason, our Albertsons back in the day had a video or like a video rental thing inside it? So like we would go grocery shopping and I would just beeline to the video rental thing because I could get some like games while my mom's like
if you got lost, they knew exactly where to find you. No, we had a place called Jack's Videos, and it was like the building is still there. My mother-in-law lives in our old neighborhood, but it is a small little store. When you walked in, I could still remember it, man. You could walk in there, and to the left was 3 arcade machines, and it was usually Double Dragon, Spy Hunter, and Splatterhouse. And occasionally he would rotate one out, but for the most part, it was those 3 games. And then you walk to the back counter where he was, and the video games were back there because he didn't want people stealing those. But then the rest of the store was all VHS cassettes. But I used to like, some of my favorite games were like Legend of Zelda was I'm not very good at those kind of games. Like what's the one? Dragon what's it called? Dragon Knight or I can't remember what it's called. Dragon Warrior.
What's the gameplay?
It's almost exactly like Legend of Zelda, right? It's like overhead, you're walking around as a warrior. It's Dragon Warrior. Like I was never good at like collecting X, taking it to location Y, and like
the whole puzzle solving.
The whole puzzle solving. I was always like just like Contra was my jam, right? I was really good at Contra.
Yeah, I liked Contra.
Well,
as
like the first Zelda is like so open ended. Like I remember.
I mean, they're all
kind
of
early on when I first started playing it. Well, like the first ones especially so. Like a lot of the later ones, it's very hard to deviate from the order of the temples. Whereas the first one, I remember like when I first played that early on, I think I beelined to like the 3rd temple for some reason.
Yeah.
I had no idea it was the 3rd temple. And they don't stop you.
Right. They want you to have like that experience of like think this is maybe I'm not leveled up for this.
And you can easily like you can brick your save if you get into a spot where you're like, I can't get out of this and I can't turn back.
Right.
Yep.
What I was gonna say is one of my other so like that type of game would stress me out. I played it mainly because I had friends who played it all the time. And, I was this kid who was like, I want to be as good as the friends that are playing these games so I can like be involved when we're all playing, right? Like I remember like playing Mega Man for the first time and not realizing you had to kill boss A and then go to like boss D and then kill boss D and then go to boss E or like, it was like all out of order. It was like, you had to like kill Tree Man to kill Wind Man or some bullshit. I don't remember, right? But I remember the first time I played it, I went to the first boss and I was having the hardest time beating that guy. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And then I had a friend who was super good at video games. And he was like, well, you killed the wrong guy first. But but like
because you need the different weapons to
you need specific weapons, right? So like games like
Yeah.
but then Nintendo, like you could put any Nintendo game in front of me and I would get good at it eventually, right? Because as a kid, you just play whatever you're given, right? You're just like, I'll try this, I'll play. Like Castlevania was one of my. So if you're asking about what's my all-time favorite is, Castlevania was my all-time favorite.
Yeah, that was
Nintendo game.
I think mine was a toss-up between that and Metroid.
Oh, how did I forget Metroid?
Although I mean,
Metroid like totally passed me as a kid.
Really?
Dude.
Yeah.
So I had friends that were brothers, and they had the Metroid game, and I didn't have it yet. And they were also friends with this other guy who was like a year older, who was always a jerk. But I'd go over to their house and I'd watch them play, and they'd be like, "Okay, you can play when we're done. You can play when we're," and then they'd go through, and then they'd like all of a sudden they'd turn the game off, and they're like, "No, we're done.
Man,
you don't get to play."
Oh my gosh!
I did that for like a whole summer until my parents finally got me Metroid. Oh man, it was grueling.
I mean, I remember when I beat Metroid, and then I beat Metroid at the time where everybody figured out that Samus was a woman.
Right.
And a lot of little boys were losing their goddamn minds over this, right? Whereas I was just like,
what a cool twist.
What a cool idea. Like, I would never have guessed based on the fact that that armor is covering your face. I also had, like, that same friend who was really good at video games. He would learn he's the one who taught me the 99 lives code for Contra. Right?
Yep.
He was the one that taught me you can type in Justin Bailey, who maybe, I think was one of the creators of Metroid, or maybe the creator.
Okay.
It would unlock the game without her helmet on, with like a boat ton of power-ups.
Yep.
And you just went straight up to Mother Brain and started fighting her, right? Like, one hit, like, just go up there and fight. You don't have to go through all the rigmarole of everything.
It's like your friend had a subscription to Nintendo Power and didn't tell you.
Correct. Which is what I figured out later, right? Nintendo Power was another thing I didn't know about till much. I didn't know about it till much later, and by the time I got into it, it was pretty much canceled like a year and a half later, right? But yeah, he was that friend, and I had no problems with her being a woman. I thought that Metroid was a game that creeped me out. Castlevania creeped me out too. As soon as the sun went down, I was like, shit's about to go down. You always have those villagers that are just not moving, and you're like, get out of the way, man. There's a zombie coming at you. But I that was like, so like when I play games like that, I would lean into the idea of, and they got more difficult. If you play Breath of the Wild,
my son has that, and that's just like, I just can't play games like that. My brain just doesn't get it anymore. I'm too old. Yeah, I mean, I play a lot of first-person shooters right now, like Destiny and stuff. Mainly because it's literally like even that game can be difficult at times for me, but it's literally like just like if you play with your friends, it's like, okay, there's 6 of us on this team. We got to kill the 6 dudes on the other team. Cool, let's go. Or I play Red Dead Revolver with like Tawny and stuff once in a while at night. Yep. It's very much I'm just a cowboy, ride around. I shoot at the occasional idiot who gets in my way. Nothing complicated. I think I skipped, like, there were so many years that I didn't play video games that I skipped the process where I needed to like adapt and evolve with the games to be good at them now. So like you throw a newer side scroller type game at me and I'm totally happy playing it, but the more like third person or first person stuff, I just don't know what to do. I don't spend the time to try and learn it.
And I think what you just said there is one of the reasons a lot of indie creators right now make side scrollers and a little more chill games on Steam. Like if you play a lot of the Steam games, they're complicated enough, but they're not so complicated where you're like, I'm out, I don't want to play this anymore. Yeah. They're designed for you to be like, oh, this reminds me of Zelda, or this reminds me of Mario Brothers, or Mega Man or something. Like I used to like those type of games. They're all the same. They're all cookie cutter games, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They're just different characters and leaning into kids like myself who are like, Nintendo's the best, And I remember the first time I got Sega, and I was like, Sega's the best, and it's not really not. But nowadays, I don't know how many of you guys are really into Nintendo still. Like, I'm more of an Xbox guy these days, but I think it's because I kind of evolved with the graphics and the high intensity of the gameplay.
I think part of like me having a 7-year-old, the Wii is still, or the Switch is still, that's still pretty big in our household. Even though we also have the Xbox as well, because the 12-year-old well, they both like the Xbox, but the Switch is still pretty big amongst the whole family.
Yeah, I mean, I play Switch occasionally. Sorry, Andrew.
Oh no, I was gonna say like I play occasionally. My wife plays the Switch a lot more. But yeah, like that's pretty much our console, and then I'm primarily like a PC gamer. So that's usually where a lot of my games are nowadays. And that's kind of how it was back in the day too. Like I vaguely remember for some reason my parents had an Atari. I think it was the 2600. I remember it being wood paneled. It was top loading. We didn't have a keyboard.
Okay.
But we had the joysticks. I remember we had that for a brief time, and then we got like a Nintendo, and that was really like my starting console. Like the Atari one, I remember kind of playing here and there, but I was very young when it existed in our house, so I was kind of like, okay, what do I do in this? This is weird. We had like, we had Pong. We had a few other games. The only other game I remember was we had the ET game.
Oh, that game is, if you still have that game,
it's a terrible game.
It's a horrible game, but it's so rare right now.
Really?
Like it's one of, so like the, I
know the majority of it is in a landfill.
So some dude went there and dug out most of those, and I think he like eBays them or something, or they sold it. One guy like figured out where they were and found as many as he could, because it became like it's not a good game
though at this point. Yeah,
they're not. It's like a
now it's really not playable.
I mean, that game I think bankrupted the company that made that game.
Right.
That was also probably like the end of an era for Atari at that moment, right? But like the nostalgia and I can't think of the word, but it's like it's such a mysterious game now that people want it just to say I own it, right?
Yeah,
like, gotcha.
It's not a good game. I've played it. It's a stupid game. It's
an incredibly frustrating game if you're like 5.
Yeah,
you're like, what am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah,
stupid is a nice word to describe that game. I thought
this was just an ET game. Why am I falling into all these pits?
Correct. You know, you're like, who designed this game? Why did they think this was a good idea? He's got small legs. He can't jump over this thing. You know,
he can't jump. And then I remember the button was mapped to only like elongating his neck. That's all it did. Like no other. It was a useless action. I don't remember.
It did something.
Actually,
we just couldn't figure out what it was.
Did it do something? I always wondered because like I never could have it do anything. Like otherwise, I was just kind of wandering around.
But I mean, like, if you have those kind of rare games, they're still like I've got Zelda 1 and Zelda 2 gold cartridges.
Yeah,
which I know are rares. Contra, I have Contra as one of my favorite games too. I want to meet somebody who beat that game with 3 lives. There's no fucking way. Like how?
Well, it comes from that arcade era.
Yeah,
I get it, but it would be so difficult.
I mean, well, that's the point. Like, you're not supposed to finish it in 3 lives. You're supposed to kill your 3 lives, then you get to continue. You're like, all right, going to shell out another 50 cents or whatever.
Oh yeah,
yep.
And then like like $7 later, you find
Double Dragon 2. I remember I love Double Dragon, but Double Dragon 2 was fun because your friend can join you now. Because you remember Double Dragon 1, it was like I will go first.
Oh right,
when I lost, you get your turn.
Yeah,
and it went back and forth. But Double Dragon 2, they were like much more fun if both these guys can play together.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it had a cool it just had some cool looking. And I still love that style. Like so, like I was talking to I forget who about the TMNT game that's coming out for Switch.
Does it look like the old TMNT game?
It looks like the old TMNT game from the arcade. It's been cleaned up a little bit. You can find it on Nintendo's. If you go to Nintendo Switch section, there's a video of it and some images. So it's a little cleaner than the old version because you gotta modernize it a little bit.
Yep.
But it has that nostalgic 80s 8-bit vibe.
Yep.
Which is probably a game we all played at Pizza Hut, right?
Yep.
After our reading, what is that reading program where they give you the star and the personal pan pizza and shit. But like, I still love those kind of games. Like, I'm gonna buy this game when it comes out, right? Like, if they were to put out Double Dragon, and it looked somewhat like the original, I would totally invest in it. Cause
have you seen Metroid Dread?
Yeah, I heard it's pretty creepy.
Yeah.
So Wyatt downloaded the demo of it, and man, it feels like it's an evolution of the one from Growing Up. It like has that same feel. So
it has that like creepy like. Remember the music was like super low key and creepy, and then you're like traveling through like literally like a Geiger type world, right? It's like Alien to the T. And yeah, Dread has that creep, but now it's like open space, right? It's like you could rotate everywhere, right? So it's not just side scrolling.
It's still side scrolling. Yeah,
I thought it had some sequences where you get the 3/4 view in there.
Oh, maybe it does once you get
it has some first person things, but it's not like a big part of the gameplay from what I understand. The majority of it is side scrolling, and then the other big like mechanic of it is that there is an enemy AI that constantly hunts you.
Yes.
Oh no.
That's terrifying.
So you have to avoid it. Yeah.
Yep.
That's like okay. That's so those kind of extra creepy things would always freak me out. Like I remember when I played, like I don't play any of the Resident Evils. I played the first Resident Evil or like Resident Evil 3 or something. My friend lent it to me when I was on PlayStation, and it freaked the hell out of me. So I was like, I'm never playing these games again. And I played, then like a dummy, I played Silent Hill, which is way creepier in my opinion, because there's like the fog, and then you're in like a haunted town. And you're like, I don't really need to find my wife. Like,
man, my wife left me for a good reason.
Okay. Yeah, I can just go get remarried later. I don't need to go through this creepy ass town looking for this woman. You know, like with the kids. Remember the kids that came out of the fog with the blades in their hands? And I never. You just kind of turn off your flashlight, you sidestep them, and they just kind of ran by you. But you just want to like kick them. Like, don't.
Well, I never had a Super NES growing up, but did either of you guys have a Super NES?
I did.
Yeah,
I didn't get to play I really didn't get to play any of the Super NES games until like late high school, early college. When that's like I installed an emulator on my computer and I started playing ROMs left and right. Have either of you ever played Clock Tower?
No.
No.
That is it is like the same thing as like Metroid Dread. It is it's like a slasher puzzle game, like slasher horror puzzle game.
Okay.
You and a bunch of your like siblings, y'all get like adopted, and you're brought to this giant mansion, and in very short order, all you get split up, and as soon as you start looking for it, you find out that someone is killing off all your siblings, and he's coming after you too. And it's the same kind of thing as like Metroid Dread. There's an AI that is constantly hunting you. You have to avoid and hide them everywhere. It is this little creepy child with like giant like garden shears.
Oh,
and
my
every
God.
step he walks towards you, he like snaps the scissors together.
This is on Super Nintendo?
Yeah, and it's really
terrifying.
good as a Super Nintendo game. But you have to like hide in like shower, like in the shower tub, under the bed or whatever.
Oh my God, this is creepy as fuck.
The AI I was actually really impressed with it for like a Super NES game. The AI had a thing where it's like, if you kept using the same hiding spots over and over again, it would just find you.
It would just
be like, he always runs into this. I bet he's under the bed.
The kid with the shears is super creepy. He looks like a little schoolboy. So this game's play style, the look of it reminds me of Splatterhouse. Like, do you ever play Splatterhouse?
I never played it. I've seen screenshots of it, yeah.
Okay, so it didn't come out on Nintendo or anything. I forgot to mention one system I owned for literally a week. It was TurboGrafx 16. Do you guys remember the TurboGrafx 16?
Oh my goodness, yeah, it was on that.
Familiar, but
okay, so I bought a TurboGrafx. I had my dad buy me that because I wanted to play Splatterhouse, which is one of my favorite games because I used to play it all the time at the arcade. It's literally you're a guy you and your girlfriend get like a flat tire on a creepy road. You find a haunted house or a house which is super haunted. You get blackout. You wake up. She's missing. You've got like a Jason Voorhees style mask stuck to your face, and now you're like rampaging through the house. And there's like these ghouls, and then you get like a 2x4 and you just like whack them, and they just like everywhere. And then every once in a while, there's ghouls hanging from the ceilings, and they like vomit on the floor, and you have to jump over it. But then you make your way through this house, and you end up fighting like a poltergeist, and then like the big baddie at the end, and then the girlfriend is now possessed, so you end up killing her. Basically, it's like Evil Dead. But the game was phenomenal to play, and then they had a version that came out, I think, on Switch actually a couple of years back. But the TurboGrafx 16 was the stupidest system ever because the cartridges were designed like thin credit cards almost, and then the chipset. You know, the Nintendo. You know, when you played like a Nintendo game or even an Atari game, you had the cartridge and the chipset was inside, like between the plastic, so you would insert it and it would play. TurboGrafx had it just sitting out there on top. So if you did something dumb, like drop it on your carpet, like kids do, it like fucked with the game because it's like static and shit, right? So like my game was acting wonky by like day 2 because like at some point myself or my sister, I had ActRaiser, I had Splatterhouse, and I can't remember the third game. And I remember talking to my dad, I'm like, this is not working, and he was just like, we'll just take it back. And that's how I ended up with I want to say it was a Sega Genesis, whatever the next 16-bit system was. Because I couldn't get, when Nintendo systems came out, you couldn't find one forever. You know, like I didn't get a Super Nintendo for like 7 or 8 months after it came out. You could get a Sega Genesis or whatever the Sega version was any time of the day, but Nintendo was like, because remember you had to go to Toys R Us and you get the ticket, and you had to take that ticket up front, and they would ring you out, and then you had to go to that special counter where they kept the video games in the back with your ticket.
With like, the big locked grid wall type stuff. Yeah,
exactly. And now you can just walk over and like they just have to unlock a giant vault and they hand it right to you, right? Like they trust you to just walk to the store with it. But like I'm trying to you reminded me of a game, but I can't remember now. But let's get back to the dice conversation real quick. I want to make sure we plug this before the show ends.
Totally.
Is there anything specific you want to tell people about this, like the set? Like, do you have any other? You've pretty much revealed everything that's being offered. It's there on the table.
Right. I mean, we have other stretch goals, but
mine is the stretch goals.
Reveal any of the other ones till later. Right. Just if you're thinking of if you want pretty shiny math rocks for your RPG adventures, these are really fun ones to add to your collection. They're going to be different than everything else out there. I mean, just the typeface alone on these dice is so much different than what you see on most dice.
Yeah, you've got like 8-bit text.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen an 8-bit dice before.
I definitely have not.
No. And the rolling tray cartridges are just going to be fantastic. Oh, each of the cartridges, we're putting together little mini adventures to go with each one that are going to be in PDFs. So,
cool.
Say the Bastard, there's going to be like a little PDF booklet of little things that you can work into your games, either as mini adventures, inspiration, encounters, things like that will be easily be adaptable to most systems.
Is that listed on here somewhere?
Fun flavor. What's that?
Is that listed on the site here?
It's listed under the under each of the pledges, and then if you scroll down, there's a little mock-up.
I see 3 mini game PDFs. Yeah.
But then if you scroll like past the pledge right at the bottom of the pledge levels, there's the mini adventure PDF with not final art. That's a little taste of what Lat had written for the Elixir of Vitality one, and then I put the design together for that little booklet spread.
That's cool because it looks like an old instruction manual from those kind of games.
With trying not to go so heavy on the old style one, because if you look at the old manuals, it's like very, very simple. Having it where it feels like it, but also is a little more modern design as well.
I also want to talk about. I noticed you guys created a rolling dice rolling app.
Yes,
which is cool. Is that just included?
That's everything? Just included with each pledge. You're going to be able to download it. It's going to has the augmented reality dice, so you can look at your table and swipe the dice and have them roll on your table.
Sweet. It's pretty accurate on the rolls, because I like when I play we use Roll20 when we play. Right. I'm always just like, sometimes I'm like getting magnificent rolls. It's just never ending, right? And you're just like, like last time I played with my friend in his campaign, he was like, I couldn't roll under 15 if my life depended on it, like, which is great for me, but also kind of takes the fun out of it, right? Because you're like, why am I not screwing up one of these rolls? But I feel like when you physically roll some dice, you consistently.
I totally roll terrible when I roll real dice, which is fun. I like when stuff goes bad.
Completely bad. Right. Yeah, exactly. Because I do crazy things. Like I think I was telling you last time I was playing, I'm a halfling, right? I was like, throw me across the bridge, and my friend's like, what? I'm like, fastball special, let's go. You know, and my friend's like, roll for it. I'm like, oh, here we go. Here's the part where we mess up and I just dive into the ocean, right? But I rolled like a fucking 18. I was like, that's good, right? You know, like, so like some of these, I like the idea of the rolling app because that could come in handy at like a convention if you don't have dice with you. But technically, people should have dice with them at all times. You better have dice on you.
Right, or come buy some.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, I'm excited for this, man.
Yeah,
Let's see.
it's been a really fun project to work on. I'm hoping that it does well enough that we can do like a one up dice series 2 later down the road and
Oh
incorporates
yeah.
influence from some
Oh,
other
totally.
Oh
games.
dude,
You know?
I can give you some games.
Or
Like,
maybe we do some sort of Metroid, like it's inspired by Metroid, but now it's a Vast Grim video game thing.
I
A little
mean,
cross
you and I
pollination of
definitely. I've been talking to you about wanting to make some dice for ancient ones, like. But I have ideas, but I want to lay the foundations. That's why I've been talking to that vendor, right? Because I think in my head, I'm like, once I'm like, here's what I want it to look like, and she's like, got you, and we're like both in sync. Then I'm gonna be like, here's the design that's gonna go on, right?
Yep.
Actually, I was looking at the stuff you made, Andrew, because I really like the dice you posted in the skillet that one day.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like if I had you make me some dice, they'd just be for me. Like or like a limited run. Like I feel like if I had you make some dice, we would do like a limited run, and they would cost a lot because they're not manufactured in a factory. They're made by a person. Right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you do it at scale, it makes it easier to make it affordable. But yeah, whenever on something small like this, there's a reason a lot of those dice makers charge like 60, 70 bucks a dice set.
Yep. I mean, I didn't realize that you could charge so much for dice sets initially, because when I was talking to the vendor that Brian recommended, I was like, at this cost, I'm gonna have a hard time selling them at like $20 because I really won't turn a profit. And then I think it was Brianna who's in our group. It was like, check out this one company. I'm not gonna name them, but they were selling dice sets at like $60 a set, and I was just like, wow, that's expensive for a dice set, but people buy them, right? Because that's it's just like collect anything you would collect, right? Comic books, video games, books, whatever.
And the more
statues.
that it looks, I was gonna say, the more that it doesn't look like a generic like kind of dice that you can go into like your local game store and just grab that, like that also like entices you for it.
Absolutely, and it's all also about perceived value too. I mean, if you put yourself out there and if you make it look as high end as you possibly can, and everything looks really upscale, then you can charge more of a premium price. Right? If you and part of that's the project, the crowdfunding project. Part of it's the packaging, all the pieces that come together to make it feel like more of a luxury dice set than just going and buying some random tub of Chessex dice out of there.
Correct. And those are the things like. We could do another call about business later, but those are the kind of side notes, things I learned about while I'm selling a lot of my stuff, where it's just like people are like, that cost is too high, and you're like, it's really not, because it took me a long time to create this thing, and it just seems like it's high to you because you researched how it's made, and to you it seems like it's very easy to make the thing, but to me it was like sure, it's easy to make the dice at the end of the day, but if you go back down the line to the process to getting to that, there's that perceived value again, right? There's all the hard work you put into it. There's the design work. The fact that you got 8-bit logos on the dice, right? Like 8-bit numbers. The fact that you made cartridges that look like the video games. Like you could have just put them in boxes, right? You could have just been like, here, it's in a box. Good luck, roll it. It looks like you could have made a box that looks like the game and called it a day, right? Just for packaging. But you decided to make it open up.
I also wonder if Kickstarter has helped with that perception too, because now like usually a lot of people like they show behind the scenes stuff of like everything being made and all that,
right?
So like backers and like buyers have a better idea of like, wow, this is a lot of work, like there's a lot of things that go into this, no wonder it costs this much or that much. Versus kind of like when you just see it and then you don't have any idea of like what is the process that goes into it. You just assume like, oh well, it's just a thing that's there, right? It shouldn't cost as much or whatever. It's like, well no.
So there's a comment here from Dreaming of Ghosts. It says, there's a really active dice collecting community. If you make beautiful dice, people will buy them, and it's correct. And that is what I've learned. I learned that just from watching literally David's first set with the Elder Dice. Like I've said this story a bunch of times because it still resonates with me really heavily. One of the first times I met David was at a LuxCon, and he was telling me about the dice idea he had for what would initially become Infinite Black in the first Elder Dice run, right? But he didn't tell me what it was about. He literally just said, I'm going to make some dice. I'm going to kickstart it. And I remember sitting in that hotel room and going, dice? Like, I don't think dice are going to make that much money, man. But I didn't know shit about dice. I was just an ignorant person talking, not knowing all the details. And then I remember when he launched, I think if I remember, that thing funded in like 5 hours, right? It was just like straight to the top. And I was just like, whoa. And I remember looking at my wife saying, no, she was my girlfriend at that time, I believe. Either way, I just said, this thing is funded in 5 hours. So that I remember the guy I told you about talking about dice. I'm like,
right.
And then I started doing more research. And yeah, I mean, there's dice sets out there I would spend $60 on, but I would never roll them. That's my problem though, right? Like I have a hard time like playing with them if I spend that kind of, like if I got like a set made by Andrew, because the ones he posted in the Skillet were beautiful.
Yep.
I may or may not ever play with them. Like I
would
just
definitely put them up on a shelf and have bright lights shined on them. And,
I would definitely put them on display, or I would have make it 2 sets, one for play and one for collecting, like you would do with the comic books, and you would do with like anything else, right? So, like,
what's funny is like so I've heard this, like with the resin dice, that's more or less a safe bet. Like they're pretty much as strong as the acrylic. I have heard there are certain other materials, like there's some companies that offer high-end dice that are made of like other materials, like rare gemstones and that kind of thing, and those are exceedingly fragile.
Yeah, depending
like
on
they pretty much are like a look, don't touch sort of thing.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, yeah,
and a lot of those with that, they're also like a lot of those are hand engraved for the numbers as well, and so there's a lot of variation on them. And I've seen ones that are, the shapes to me aren't the right shapes for certain like a D8 may look a little wonky, stuff like that. So
well, I guess that you're not going to really roll it, right?
Right.
So that's the other thing I was going to ask you, and I don't know if this is something you can answer or not, but like I assume people manufacturing your dice have to, because this is an issue Andrew was talking about once about weighing them and making sure they I don't know what they call it, but basically making sure they roll
balance.
Balance, the balance.
That's like, because of how things are manufactured these days, like that's not an issue at all. It's all, I mean, because the materials that are going into it, it's all like, it's not going to weigh any more on one side than the other with this stuff.
So they're
I was going to say, like the way that your stuff is set up, like you're not really introducing like large, like it's a Mylar or whatever that's going to may possibly affect it or whatever.
Yeah.
It's pretty much just liquid acrylic.
I mean, I use Elder dice when I play D&D. That's what I roll.
Yeah, I mean, when you're doing acrylic and like doing the injected molding stuff with that and how that all works,
it's going to be fine. Yeah.
There's no reason it would ever be unbalanced.
I was just curious. So
yeah.
Well, I don't really have any other questions for you.
Awesome.
This is an incredible looking collection of dice.
I mean, this is a beautiful set. You went up another $1,000 while we're on this call. So
we're getting there. We're almost. We're almost.
You literally went up another $200 as I made that comment.
Right. we're gonna hit our goal soon, and then we're gonna hit some stretch goals, and then we're gonna keep on going, and it's gonna be fun because I mean,
I'm hoping you guys make
series.
I'm excited for you guys. I hope you make enough to make a series 2, which I'm sure you will, because you can do a bunch of stuff with this, and I think it's cool because it's a little different than what you're used to getting from Infinite Black. I know David, that was a question David posted before, like, would it be cool with talking about this new set in the Infinite Black server?
In the Elder Dice groups?
Yeah, in Elder Dice groups, because people all want, like, do you guys only want Lovecraft all the fucking time? Or can I give you something a little different? People were like, it was a resounding yes. Like, why not, right? Like, because at the end of the day, we like dice, you know?
Yeah, totally.
So we want to see something different.
And
if anybody watching has any questions before we jump off, please ask some questions to Brian. Put him on the spot. We got him.
Totally. It's good to see us as like Infinite Black continue to expand and diversify our products and between starting with Elder Dice, having Vast Grim recently, then this, and as we continue to grow and expand, just having more variety allows us to make more people happy and get people excited about what we do.
I mean, I've said this to you guys before, I was definitely excited to work with you guys on the Vast Grim stuff. It definitely lit a fire under my ass to like start working on my own RPG stuff. Like you and I were talking last week, I've got at this point, I've got almost 20 characters designed. I'm pointing at this wall, like you can see it, but there's Post-it notes all here. And I feel like I'm on a good track to like make something at some point once I get
awesome.
eggs in a row, ducks in a row. Why is that eggs in a row? What the fuck is going on with me? I think I need lunch.
You're mixing all your metaphors.
Yeah. Oh, can you link the Kickstarter? Yeah, hang on. I'll link it right now. Give me 1 second. You go, man. Enjoy. That should come up. If the link didn't work, let me double check if it worked. Nope, it works. If the link didn't work, just go to Kickstarter and look up 1UP Dice. It should be the only thing that comes up for it. 1UP Dice retro video game themed dice sets. Dreaming of Ghosts was asking that. I'm
awesome.
Not sure. But yeah, if anyone else has any questions, I'm gonna probably shut this down in about 5 minutes. Feel free to ask Brian some questions. We're only about 5 minutes over. It's not a big deal. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to whatever you guys do in the future. It would be awesome if we can do more collab work. But you know, you guys got your hands full, so like we're good to go for now. But I feel like, you know, next year's shows, when you guys bring this stuff to the show, it's gonna fly. Like,
yeah, I think so.
Because I think
it's gonna fly off the shelf for sure.
Because like even when you like David's setup that he had at Gen Con, you know, like it's one thing to see the stuff online and kind of wanna like, I like Lovecraft, I'm gonna invest in this. I like dice, I'm done.
Right.
You know, you get that person, but then when you're like there and you physically see it, like that's when you buy like I bought a bunch more sets after I saw them in person, right? Because I was
totally,
yeah, I want this one too.
Yep.
Ooh, I want this. And I ended up buying. I remember there's 2 sets sitting downstairs that Violet has that I bought for her. She likes to throw dice, and she doesn't put them in her mouth, so it's a win-win.
Good. Yeah.
You know, like it's just a matter of time before she's playing some form of tabletop RPG with me, right?
Well, did you pick up the My Little Pony D&D set? Like it's like the 5 ponies that all have their different classes characters.
No, never even heard of that.
I'm gonna have to write this down.
Yeah, check it out. Ruby got that for Christmas last year. So
I mean, I need to. I think if I'm gonna
segue.
Well, no, it's a good segue because like we're still talking dice and we're still talking RPGs, but
no, I mean, yeah, for kids to get into it, like she runs me through adventures now where it's like they're not really. It's just playing make believe, but it's playing D&D. You know,
so Violet's starting to get. She loves My Little Pony, which is a bonus.
Yep.
But Violet has been like making up her own little stories sometimes. Mm-hmm. But like it's that attention span where you need them to sit a little bit longer. You know, like once she gets there, I'm gonna be like, let's go, because I already got like all the those D&D. Have you seen these? I'll show one.
Oh, the younger version books.
Yeah, the younger version books. So it's like basically these are brilliant. I forget the author's name, but
did Zub write those?
Yeah, Jim Zub. Yep. And there's like a whole series of this, right? There's ones for weapons and warriors. This is warriors and weapons. There's one for like the monsters. I'll just show them to you because I bought them all because initially I was just like, I'm curious to see what they are. But here's like monsters and creatures, and it's very easy to look through this and teach it to your kids. You know. Yep. What's this one? Dungeons and Tomes. Tombs. What the hell, man? I'm losing it.
You need to go eat.
I know. All right, I'm gonna let's see. Let me see if there's any questions, and I'm gonna call it. No questions. Okay. Yeah, but you know, my point is like they're doing a really good job of designing these books now. So like the younger you start. Look, I mean, when was the first time you played D&D? Like I was like 10.
I was in 4th grade.
Yeah, I was much older, high school.
Yeah.
I mean, I played a little with my cousins. I didn't get it, so I stopped because they were playing like 2nd edition or something, right? Like way too complicated for a kid to try to learn. There's no concept of designing it for a younger kid to play, right? It was literally like give it to the adults. And then I didn't touch anything remotely close in RPG again until I was in high school. And what I ended up playing was Rifts, if you remember Rifts.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Which is super fucking complicated.
I played a lot of Palladium in high school.
Yeah. And then, you know, went on from there. But we can do a whole talk about that. But all right. So seems like there's no more questions. So we're just going to call it. Brian, thanks for being on.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good chatting with both of you.
Yeah, I feel like by the end of the day, you're going to be funded. Well, today's
Sunday's a weird day.
So
hopefully tomorrow.
Yeah. But like, let's have you on again before this thing closes out. I definitely want to do like an 80s talk, and the friend I mentioned before, I'm trying to get him to come on because I'm curious to know why he hates the 80s. Like, you know, if he's like, my house burned down in the 80s, I'll be like, okay, I feel for you. Okay. Like, but you know, if he's just like, I don't like neons and I hate Thundercats, then I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna put you on blast. You know, like.
Speaking of, check out Super Seven's doing some Silverhawks toys.
Oh my god, I saw those. Do they have them all
Okay.
out yet, or is
Really?
it just the?
I saw that another wave was coming, so it made me think of you because it has that the ancient
guitar.
ones could definitely tie into the.
Dude, they have a
Silverhawks stuff.
Turtles van on there right now.
Oh yeah,
Why did you make me open this site? This is
because
not-
I just bought a bunch of the Godzilla glassware, and then also bought a couple of toys for myself, which I shouldn't have.
Yeah, I mean, I want to lean. So I talked to I can't tell you the name of the vendor yet, but I can tell you in private. But I basically had a sit down meeting with a friend who I'm going to go into business with, collab with on some stuff. But he has another friend that makes toys, like vinyl toys. So I need to see if we can make because here's the Silverhawks thing you're talking about. This is the kind of stuff I would love to make because I want to make that 80s style toy that I liked playing with when I was a kid, right? Like, because at the end of the day, we make these things for ourselves first.
Oh yeah, totally.
I'm gonna go off on a tangent. Yeah.
Once we're off the call, tell me who the vinyl toy person is, because I may know them from years back when I was in the vinyl toy scene.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm gonna end this call so we can. Let me go back to Streamlabs here and make sure there's no questions. All right, thanks everyone who's watching.
Thanks.
The video will go live in about an hour, and you can ask questions there if you miss anything. Again, the Kickstarter is the number one up dice retro video game themed dice sets, or you can just check out Infinite Black and it should bring